Welcome to KRA's The Hub, the official podcast of KRA Corporation. And now get ready to hear workforce topics and trends you need to know on the go.
All right, welcome back to KRA's The Hub podcast. This is Jonathan Overall here at the Geographic Solutions Workforce Technology Conference here in Tampa Bay, Florida. It's sunny outside and it is warm here, and I've had a great opportunity here at this conference. Today is day number 2 to meet a lot of great exhibitors, companies that are here, as well as leaders in workforce development, talking about technology and how that relates to the everyday work in workforce development. And I'm joined at this time with Max Schelkopf. He is with Engage by Sell. Max, it's great to see you.
It's fantastic to be here with you, Jonathan, and it's fantastic to be in Clearwater. I'm excited. It's been a great 2 days.
Exactly. We're here. There's been a lot of there's also been some thunder and lightning while we've been here as well. Max, the theme of this conference is charting the course for innovation. You've been here as an exhibitor, but let's start off by you telling us what is Engage by Sell, your role, and that relationship with Geographic Solutions.
Absolutely. So Engage by Sell, we've been in business for 20 years now. I think it's 19, but I just say 20. But my role, I am a senior mobile solutions consultant. I handle 95% of Engage by Sell's workforce development business and working with clients, providing the platforms, training, really A to Z. I'm kind of involved in most steps along the way. And our relationship with workforce development is really kind of identified 2 main challenges. First challenge is engagement, right? So I don't know about you, but how many emails do you get a day? And so people aren't answering emails like they once did. People don't pick up the phone. We all have caller ID anymore. Jobseekers, customers are vetting out phone calls. So really you have to meet them where they are, and that's texting. So we provide a texting solution. And then the second challenge is information accessibility. Every single workforce development organization has hundreds of resources available to people. And organizations like KRA or many other organizations, they're trying to get all these resources in people's hands, right, to help them out. And those resources might be Geographic Solutions resources, they might be metrics learning resources, they might be this, that, the other, and all those resources are spread around. They might be on this website, that website, they might be on paper at the Job Center, the Career Center. And so we built a mobile web app platform that really becomes kind of like a centralized hub for all those fantastic resources, and take maybe the top 8 to 10 to 12 of those resources that are kind of the really highly trafficked ones, and we consolidate them all into a really accessible platform and put them in people's hands. So it's all about just getting the information and tools people need in their pocket on their cell phone, right? Because everybody has one now, and you got to meet where people are, and that's on their mobile devices. So that's what we do. Yeah, it's great.
I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to, the being bombarded by email. And I know I have emails for personal life. Yep. I also have emails specifically for subscriptions that I sign up for, that I get a lot of junk mail, but texting is a way to engage people and bypass the clutter. Talk to us about the relationship with Geographic Solutions and really the platform that you have here at a workforce conference with Geographic Solutions here.
Yeah, so our partnership with Geographic Solutions is pretty crazy because we have our mobile web apps deployed in roughly 300, probably a little bit more, American job centers, and we work with about 100 workforce boards across the country and a couple of statewide initiatives. But what happened was I was actually down in the U.S. Virgin Islands speaking at a conference, their annual Governor's Workforce Summit, and one of the Geographic Solutions employees, Bob Burge, was down there on my panel with me. And I was talking to Bob, and I showed him the mobile web app that we built for the USVI. And the first icon you see when you pull up the mobile web app is their Geographic Solutions website, right? Because it's where the job board's located. It's where the whole intake kind of process starts, right? And I was like, Bob, I have 300 of these mobile web apps out there, and you're in 300 of them just by customer request. So this partnership formed organically, right? It wasn't like Engaged by Cell and GeoSol got together and we were like, we're going to form this partnership. It just happened organically by, supply and demand. And so Bob and I sat down that night and got dinner, and we were like, man, if this just happened because the tools work together already, there's got to be a bigger picture, right? So fast forward a couple years later, obviously we have tons and tons and tons of mutual clients, and we're working toward getting more of an integrated process together and logging some more communication components of things and integrating some texting hopefully in the upcoming future. But really the core of it so far is that exposure that they've gained through our mobile web apps getting deployed across the country is really how the partnership founded. And that just happened through customer requests. So,
That's
so
great.
that's how it all started. And we have big plans, and we're working towards a lot more kind of API integrations and things like that. So the future is probably going to be pretty exciting for it. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I know personally with KRA and some of our operations that are using Engage by Cell that there's increased transparency of communication. Our team can also manage and look at the quality of that communication with customers that we're working with. But we've seen great impact already. What kind of general impact do you see and hear from users of Engage by Cell, and how it's changing the way that they're able to reach customers?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always pick on myself first. Like I'm looking at my phone right now. In my personal Gmail account, I have 32,761 read emails, right? And it's because Old Navy and Bass Pro and all those companies are emailing me 10 times a day trying to get me to buy a new shirt, right? And people that are customers and job seekers or people in these programs, they don't have a work email. Typically, they have their personal email, and that's what they're working with. And they're just inundated, like I am, like you are, like most people are. And so the texting not only... And point being is I have 0 unread text messages, right? So it's just more about the effectiveness of the communication, but also it's much quicker, right? So we reserve phone calls for when, hey, I got to step out and take this phone call, or email, it's at the end of the day or when I can get to it kind of thing. But texting, it's answered. They're answered, statistically speaking, in 90 seconds or less, right? You get a text, you respond. You don't really wait around for it. So the end user and the data that we see in it, what it suggests is it's just way faster, and that's the end goal, is to communicate with these people that need those resources and help them get employed as fast as possible. So, I hate to be dramatic, but seconds count, right? And it might be a marathon that we're talking about, but when you're running a mile, and big difference between a 6-minute mile and a 4-minute mile, so every second counts. And so speeding up the process, meeting them where they are on their mobile devices. I said that earlier, but it's if you're not using the mobile device, one, it's much more accessible, right? Not everybody has a laptop. They just don't. And it can be a barrier to entry for a lot of people, whether they got to go travel to the job center to use the resource lab or wherever they can get access. But really about 95% of the population anymore has a mobile device. There's phenomenal programs where they can get them for free. You can go to Walmart and get a phone that you prepay for, and it's $20. It's just a much lower barrier of entry to help these people and communicate with them quicker. Yeah.
That's great. How does Engage by Cell, obviously using the technology platform, but you're bringing it into the world of workforce development, How do you stay current, and what loops of feedback do you create with partners in workforce development to ensure that the technology is truly being delivered to a customer in that realm of workforce development?
Yeah. So I love a guinea pig, man. I do. And Engage by Cell, really, in any tech company, innovation is critical, right? Because it moves so fast that you have to keep evolving and adapting. And you and I or any other technology provider, we can make our best educated guesses, right, of what the next thing is. But we really, really strongly believe in let the people who are using it tell us what they need, right? Like Engage by Cell doesn't even have a 1-800 phone number. If you need help, if you need assistance, we're super hands-on with all of our training. You pick up the phone and you call real human. We want you to feel like you're treated like a human being, and we're going to treat you, vice versa. It's And that is where majority of our innovation comes from, is spending time speaking hands-on with our clients, and they'll tell you what's next because they're doing the job. We're not guessing. They're telling us what they need. And obviously all the hot topic right now is AI, and it's going to change everything everybody does, in the next 5 to 10 years. And we've incorporated some of that into the mobile web app now, where it can help write resumes, write cover letters, help with interview prep, things of that kind of nature. And we're integrated with OpenAI, and it'll help you write text message campaigns and things of that kind of nature too. So baby steps in that innovation. But also, we build out custom tools and solutions all the time, literally monthly, just because a client will say, hey, I'm struggling with XYZ. Wouldn't it be great if this, and we do all of our own engineering in-house. So we say, yeah, let's do it. Let's try it. If it saves you 10 seconds or it streamlines that process. And that's how half of our platform was built. We started as a company that specialized in museum experience. And it has snowballed over the past 20 years. It was museums and building apps. Like we build some of the apps for some of the Smithsonian institutions. And it started with a museum saying, hey, I would love to use this tool to train some of my staff. And then we got into training in HR. And then, Middlesex County, Kevin Kurgel, who is the executive director, he's a legend in the industry. He just retired recently. But Middlesex County about 12 years ago was our first workforce development client. And Kevin was at a training conference and saw us. And he was like, man, this would be great for job seekers. And here we are 12 years later after that conversation, and we're in 300 American job centers. And so point being is, when you listen to your customers and help them build what they need, innovation just happens. It's less guessing and just listening and helping them and doing your best to build what they're asking for is how it happens, in my opinion. Yeah.
That's great. I'm sure I kind of know the answer to this question, but what kind of shift in the business did you see during and after the pandemic, when everything changed, how people relate to services and the service-oriented industry, and in workforce, we had to shift? How did you see things shift with Engage by Sell during and after that time?
Yeah, I think kind of two-part here, right? So there's two really odd things occurring in the workforce right now. So one is, everybody talks about the massive skill gap going on right now, right? And I'll age myself. I was born in 93. I'm 32 years old. And even my generation, you were told if you didn't go to college, you were going to work some minimum wage and not have a career. You're going to have a job, but nothing you could advance in. And so that causes massive skill gap to create itself, and it's a big monster that I think this generation, and I am seeing the data kind of suggesting that skill gap is starting to close, but it's still, we need to fill all these positions. And with that, having the ability to put some resources in people's hands where they can train and learn and apply for jobs anytime, anywhere. And because these folks that are kind of stuck in that skill gap are trying to figure out how to get these skills, they still have to have jobs at the same time. It might not be a career, but you got to meet them again where they are on their phone and provide those things. So the skill gap's one big deal right now in workforce that I think we're starting to get over. And the other big piece that I see, I don't know the last time anybody who's listening to this, the last time you applied for a job was, but the interview process was just totally flipped upside down during COVID. And it changes, the interview process today isn't what it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, probably 5 months ago, right? And in that digital literacy issue, because it's all online now, right? And that's a huge, huge hurdle for a lot of folks. And if you haven't wrote a resume in 10 years, huge barrier. If you've done an interview and they have you record yourself answering questions, and everything is very kind of robotic and tech heavy now in the interview process, and that's a huge burden for a lot of people. And I'm not saying it's worse or a better process. It's just a new process. It's something different that a lot of these people who maybe dislocated workers who haven't had to apply for a job in 10 years, they don't even know where to start. So I think having some of those tools available to the folks that just helps them get over that first hurdle, right? Of just, where do I even begin? And that's where a lot of this AI fantastic tool comes in, of, doing skill assessments, seeing what you are qualified for, what you're not qualified for, getting help with that resume getting written, and things of that kind of nature. So really, I think the skill gap kind of closing a little bit, providing training resources to those folks, and building that generation of people who can fill those positions, and then overcoming and retraining and increasing digital literacy resources for all those people who are trying to get jobs, and the process is just so vastly different now that you have to help them, right? So those are the two big things that I see, and I sat in on a panel, and I was a part of a panel yesterday discussing some of those skill gap things, and I think that is something that we're going to dedicate a lot of time and effort towards in the future.
That's great. Yeah, I was going to go there with that question. You being part of a panel, there are other workshops here, and what are some of those takeaways that maybe you've picked up? I know just hearing other thought leaders, sometimes it may be an idea, maybe it's an aha moment where the light bulb is lit on a certain topic or area that really hadn't thought about before. With your experience so far at the conference, have there been any of those moments, and any next steps or takeaways that you plan to implement with your team at Engage by Sell?
Yeah, there was actually, this is super relative to me and hyper-focused to me, but there was a whole session today that was just on text messaging. And, I don't want to be that guy, but it's not a secret, government is typically, 5 to 10 years behind on just due to process and things like that. So it's not like texting is new. It's been around a long time. It's more socially acceptable now, I think, was a lot of the topic of that conversation in that workshop. Is, when I started my professional career, I was coached, never text a client, never text a customer, never text anybody. It's so hyper unprofessional. Now it is literally the primary mean of communicating, is kind of what the topic was. Geographic Solutions actually launched a big, kind of their big trial pilot with really, really starting to engage with text messaging. And I believe the gentleman was in South Dakota. And, he kind of mentioned exactly what I said in the beginning is, people don't answer email, people don't pick up the phone, so how do we get a hold of them? We have to text them. And it's important to kind of break that stigma, I think, of, you can't text anybody. I'll tell you what, my grandma's 83 years old. She has a brand new iPhone. She texts me every single day. It's not, people have kind of gotten over that. And I have customers all the time. Like, one of the directors at the Greater Ohio Workforce Board, he runs 43 counties. Very busy man and very, very good at his job. His name's Rocky Rockhold, but he is super busy, and I could call him 100 times and probably not reach him once. I text him and I get a response immediately, so it's just a preferred method. It's a much more efficient method, and that was the whole bulk of that session. And I was really excited to see, I wasn't in that session, but I attended it, and I was just super excited to see a room full of workforce development leaders there to learn about texting and help continue kind of breaking that stigma around it of it's unprofessional and you shouldn't do it, so. It's
great. Yeah. And as you were talking about that, I was thinking about the selling point. I'm sure you come in contact with people that are on the fence. They're not sure about it. What is that argument, or what is the ROI that you're able to demonstrate to them?
Yeah, I mean, really, the thing I always do, and I did it earlier in this, is I always, if I'm having a conversation with someone who's kind of on that fence, I ask them to take out their phone. I say, take out your cell phone. How many emails you got? How many text messages you got? And I do that quick little just like aha icebreaker of, I have 10,000 unread emails and I have 0 unread texts. And that immediately will kind of trigger that thought process. But also the data is just so rock solid. I mean, it's A text message is going to be read in 90 seconds or less, like I said earlier. You have a 95% delivery rate, and also pairing it with web-based resources, so you embed little clickable links in text messages, right? And those links can take them to job boards, it can take them to the mobile web apps, it can take them to any website, right? And the click rates on that are steady at 75%, right? And that's kind of the industry standard expecting, as long as you are an ethical and good practicing user of a texting platform, those are the results you should see. And, I would be pressed to find anybody in the world that's getting that through email, right? So it's just at the core of our job and our responsibility, it's to get people into jobs faster. It's to get them the resources they need and break those barriers to get employment as fast as possible. And if we can shave a couple days, a couple weeks off of chasing people with phone calls and chasing them with emails and provide them with resources, a couple days, couple weeks earlier, it cuts down on UI costs, it cuts down on everything. So it's all about speed, and it's the fastest, most effective way, right? And you still feel like a human, right? Texting's still a very personable thing. I'm texting my case manager. It's not, I got an email from so-and-so, I'll look at that next week. It's, hey buddy, I'm here to help. And it can be very personable, and it keeps that humanistic element to it. So
that's great. Well, I want to thank you for your time today. I know there's a lot happening at the conference, but just giving our audience more insight about what Engage by Cell does and the importance in our current market and the current climate that we're in as an industry, and why conferences like this are important, so that we're challenged but also inspired to continue to think innovatively. So Max, I want to thank you. How can people learn more, get in touch with you? What's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, our website, engagebysell.com. You can go and learn about all the different services and all the use cases. And we don't have a 1-800 phone number. We're a very, very customer service orientated company. You can fill out a form to learn more. You can add me on LinkedIn. You can follow the company on LinkedIn. We're super active at conferences, so I'm sure if you're in the conference circuit, odds are we'll be at a booth somewhere, and please don't be shy. Come up and say hi to one of us. Yeah.
Sounds great. Well, thank you, Max. I'm sure I'll see you at the next conference coming up here soon, but enjoy the rest of your time here at the conference. Enjoy Clearwater and the great weather out here, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you, Jonathan. Happy to be here.
Thank you for listening to KRA's The Hub. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. To learn more about KRA Corporation, visit www.kra.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back soon with a new episode.